say that Sola came to me, and we all know Sarah's recent heart transition waking up moment. And Sola came and stayed with me in the house for 2 nights and held me in my process. And this woman was just rolling around on the ground like Chester the cat. This is how and she just would like say these things, and I'm like, did you, like the jaw-dropping, life-changing messages that were coming through with one another as we were with each other, just sharing. Because we get into the frequency of love consciousness, things can pour through. But her specialty is the heart. And she grew up, I'll let you maybe introduce, but she grew up in a really, really loving environment. And so she's so fortunate to not have a lot of boo-boos on the heart there. And so what comes through is it's not filtered by the scars, right? A lot of us have so much trauma that it's filtered. We filter it and downgrade it. And hers is so pure. And so I'm so excited. And Sola, can you please tell us how you actually say your real name and what it means? Because I think it's so perfect for Divinity Codes. And she's also who did the website and the graphics for Divinity Codes. So plus.
Oh my gosh. Well, first and foremost, hello, my loves. And thank you so much, Sarah, for bringing me onto this transmission. So my full name is pronounced like Oin Consola. Oin Consola. I am West African, and my name is from the Yoruba tribe. And my name means honey drops into my wealth, and my life is rich like honey. So Sola kind of also means honey as well. So just seems very fitting for what you're going to be diving deep into Divinity Codes.
So beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so here's the popcorn style. I'm gonna go first because that's what I should do. Unless somebody else is like, nope, I'm ready and I don't even care. And Sola's gonna start digging in to it. Does anybody feel like they don't care and they're ready? They just want to say what's on their heart and mind, or I'll lead?
I mean, I can.
Yeah, do it, girl. All right.
Since last night. So I have 3 different things, and I would like you to choose which one. How about that?
Or all 3.
Or all 3. That's fine. What's coming up for me? So the first thing is, my relationship with my father is like currently obsolete. There is no relationship there. And I've felt at peace with it. And then as I've started to ponder it, it starts to come up more and more. So there's that. How much detail do you want to go quickly? Like, I don't know, how much detail do you want, or do we just, how much more do I share? I don't want to go into storyland if not necessary. The second thing is, I just went through a heartbreak. And I am I'm going back and forth right now of like unsure if like, I don't know if he is my beloved. I like don't really think so, but like I'm still unsure. I guess we'll do those 2 because the other one is career, and it's not necessarily a heart thing, I guess. I mean, it could be, but so those are the 2 that are coming up for me.
And I'm gonna dig deeper because I know Sola and I know Nancy Marie.
Okay.
So even further, this is probably what Sola was gonna maybe even get down to, is with the beloved. I want to just go even deeper. So she's, just so you guys understand, like she's not like the future teller, right? And so even deeper into what about the beloved would, make you believe that he's a beloved, or what about it is making you believe that he's not the beloved? What in your heart and your filter system is allowing you to be in that place or that situation? What limiting or positive beliefs are allowing you to hold or to stay? would be even.
Mm.
Yeah.
So my relationship with him was short and sweet, very healing, very like he was like I've never been in such a healing relationship. It was 5 months, and I mean he was just very he held space for me in ways that I had never felt before. He gave me the safe space to speak my insecurities, to speak my truth to him. And sometimes I didn't have the courage to say the things, but he still sat there and held the space and like gave me the space and time to kind of figure out the words. And he was always he was very I mean, he was just, he was healing. He did not, like, I didn't feel, there were times that I felt judged by him, but that was my own stuff. It wasn't him, you know? I was able to see that I was projecting my insecurities onto him, when instead of like, you know, if I, towards the beginning, I would like blame him and say that it was him, that he was not giving me what I needed, when in reality it was like, it was a big mirror for me, and I was able to see that is how the relationship was. The universe took him, like he got a job opportunity that took him away for a few months and possibly forever. And the reasons why I'm not certain if he is my beloved or not is because in he's short words, he's a robot. Adri's laughing over there. He's a robot. He, you know, he wasn't able to hold space for my emotions, which, you know, as that's one of the things that when I think about it, I'm like I feel like I want to have someone that can, even if they can just sit with me when I cry, and not just like get up and like, all right, I'm out. Like, you know, like I'm gonna go do something else now. But it was 5 months. So, you know, that's not a lot of time for someone who is also guarded, very guarded, to like let down their guard. So like, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So when I say that out loud, I'm like, that's my answer. I know my answer, but like, and like, there's someone out there again, you know, there is someone out there. God always has someone better.
But I have so many things that are coming through as you're speaking. There's a lot. there's a lot. I see the manifestations of what you're talking about, but my focus is always getting to the root, right? So you started off and you said, I don't have this relationship with my father. And then you talked about this relationship. You noticed that was the first thing that you said, and you just kind of went, boop. You just glossed over that and then went right into the relationship. So I'm going to take it even a step deeper. To me, it feels like whoever this person was, whatever projections that you were putting onto him, is the same desire that you want to have with your father, and it's the same desire that you want to have with God, right? But until you get to that root and understand that we are human beings, not everyone's going to be able to hold space and hold this and hold that, we will always be disappointed by the men that are coming into our lives. The root of all relationships, is determined by the strength that you have relationship with like that divine father. And until you take that time period to really understand that that father will never leave you, that father is not robotic, that father is not, going to show you this one day, then this the next day. It's stillness, it's presence, it's peace. Until you get to the desire to deepen that relationship, all of your other relationships in your life are going to mirror the current relationship you have with that father, divine father. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So notice what you said. You were like, okay, what do I want to get into? I want to talk about my father wound. And then you just went, boop, you just moved through that, and then you went to the top of it, the manifestation of all of the other things, you know, and talked about your previous relationship. Start to drop in and get to the root. The root is not even our parents. That's just another manifestation. The root is our relationship with like the divine father figure. And I don't know if you have a personal relationship with like a divine father, masculine conception of God, but I'm telling you, it mirrors so much in our life and so much that we project onto others based on that relationship.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
How do you suggest, what are those things that deepen her into that practice or in this moment that would connect her?
Ask that one more time. How do I suggest?
So she has a relationship with God,
Yeah.
and is still having these manifestations and this process with her father.
Yeah.
And the process with aligning with someone who didn't really fully have time for her, who didn't really fully show up in the ways that she was really desiring. So there's a time thing, like dad,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know if that,
So
I don't know what the relationship with dad
this is what's coming through. So let me ask you, my love, what is your love language? If you have a top two love languages.
Top two are quality time and physical touch. And then when I don't have access to those,
Mhm.
words of affirmation.
Okay, so let's focus on quality time and words of affirmation. That is going to be your love language that you start to cultivate with yourself and you start to cultivate with God. The more that you take that quality time, because that's the way that you and your heart, you know, align, take that quality time to be with God, or whether it's words of affirmation, take that quality time to give words of affirmation about whatever you're believing. That's how you start to cultivate your relationship. You know, so again, all of our relationships are mirroring this original relationship. So the same love languages that you would have in these relationships in this physical plane are the same relationships that, the same love languages that you should have with God. So ask yourself, you know, am I taking quality time to be in words of affirmation with this divine father presence? And the more that you can cultivate that as your love language, the deeper your bond gets. And the deeper your bond gets, you start to emit more of that love frequency. When you're emitting that love frequency, you're not looking for anyone to be the source of anything, not even them to be the source of listening to your problems, not them being the source of like having space for you. You are just here and you are in that presence. You are in that love embodiment. So go to the root, the father wound that you have, which is the wound that you have with your divine father, and focus on building that relationship through getting clear on your love languages and just putting that into your daily practice. Quality time and words of affirmation. And if physical touch is your thing, I don't really have anything on top of my mind to give you suggestions for that, but there's just something about words of affirmation and quality time that I feel that would be more resonance for you. Focus on that. Focus on that and just watch how it starts to change and shift the way that you show up when it comes to all of your other relationships.
Alejandro, I hope you're taking notes. Janelle, you're also my other amazing note taker. Yes. And Alexa, like there's pinned things that she's saying. So if you guys, very helpful in it. And of course Sarah talks about the physical touch. We've all been in those conversations. It's really important that we fall in love with ourselves. And it's like this, right? It's not this process of falling in love with ourselves. You know, I love myself. I felt really worthy. And then this whole experience that came into my world brought forth the shadow that was living in me that I still had not alchemized, and knocked off what I felt like all that work. And it's like the bike riding, right? You fall off, but you already know how to bike ride now. And so it gets easier and it gets more peaceful. And that's why people who are, you know, in their 50s and 60s are calm and they've got it and they figured it out. So it's just that ever moving into that direction of really just being in love with all the moments. I had a call, Adri was, I think, with you this last call, and I just talked about like, just, like it. So when I talked to Sola on the phone, I was like, well, what do you do when you're in the fear? Like, oh, I've got, the fear will come up and it'll grab you and it'll tell you these stories. Like, you'll never find another one as good as this person. You're going to be alone forever. You're going to die the old lady with all the cats, like whatever these things are. And it's really, you come back home to the heart. Home, is heart. The heart is where home is, and falling in love, even welcoming the fear, welcoming this moment and falling in love with that process, that it just keeps evolving and you get stronger in it. And the faster you can go, thank you for this moment, doesn't mean that you're saying goodbye to the lover. It doesn't. In fact, it'll fasten your manifestation, if it is him, for him to come back, if you're in thank you. Sola, can you add anything that might have come up from those words? Also, when separation happens, because fear gets us and these stories get us, open that for a minute.
When fear gets into the heart, right?
Yeah,
So
in our mind.
Think of your body as being like the temple where God dwells, right? The goal of the enemy or opposition is to always get you into a divided state, right? Because a house divided cannot stand. So like when you realize that your heart is the home where God dwells.
Can somebody make sure you're writing that down? Did you guys get that? Say that again. Can you please say that at the beginning again?
I never remember anything I say.
know, damn it. The enemy separates.
Yeah, that's the goal of the enemy, to keep you in a state of division, because a house cannot stand, when your heart is divided. So you'll always know that the enemy has entered your temple. Whether, when I say enemy, that could be the spirit of anxiety, the spirit of fear, the spirit of doubt, anything that is distorting your relationship into the wholeness and oneness that God has already given to you. Anything that's going to distort that will keep you in a confused state. When you're divided, you're confused, right? And when you're confused, all of the actions that you're making from that point are not in alignment with your highest good. They're not in alignment with the highest love. So when you're in that divided state, that fearful state, that anxiety state, when it comes to especially partners, you never want to make a choice when you're in division, because that is not fully you. So division, again, will manifest as in the form of confusion, doubt, not being clear, anything that's getting you to be like here one day and then here the next day. When you're in that roller coaster of emotions, that's how you know that the enemy has entered the home that is what we call your heart. So when you're in that state, the goal is to seek peace, right? And I believe that peace comes from having compassion. Peace comes from being objective. Peace comes from you being still. Peace is the place that you want to make all of your choices that are that has to do anything that has to do with the heart, because peace is love at rest, right? So when you're at peace, that's how you know that the enemy is not in your body. So from that point, that's when you get the inspired action. From that point, that's how you know the next thing to do, whether it's like, maybe it's to call the person, maybe it's to delete them off their phone, maybe it's whatever ideas come from you from that peaceful state. I'm telling you, it is divinely given. Anything that comes from the house of confusion will create more chaos in your reality. So just think of your heart as the temple of where God dwells, and understand that's why it's very important to protect your heart, to protect yourself. Protection is not like a bad thing. There's a reason why, we crave the protection and provision from the men or our partners that we're dating. It's a very important thing that we have to choose every day, like wake up and say, I'm protected by love. I'm protected by love, right? And the more that you are in that state of protection, you don't allow the spirit of fear, doubt, even the spirit of disappointment, anything that's going to get you in a state of division, of doubting yourself or doubting love or doubting God. anything to get you into that state, you want to keep it away from you. And if it does enter into you, stillness, peace, all the things that bring you stillness and peace, do that. Whether that is sitting back and watching a show on Netflix, do that. Whether that's sitting down and meditating, do that. Whether that is going for a walk, whatever brings you peace, that is the way that you close the door for any enemies to enter into your heart again. So, yeah.
You have the house of separation.
Yes.
And you have the house of peace.
Yes.
And when you enter into the temple of the house of peace, you speak to the divine. You speak to your higher self.
Yes.
And whenever we're in the house of confusion, scarcity, chaos, that is in the house of opposition. The enemy, whatever you want to call it, lower frequency, it's all God too, right? So we're just choosing which house that we want to be in, right? So what house do you want to be in today? What house do you want to be in your life? And when we feel it coming up, just remembering, this is the other thing that Sola talks about. Well, you guys have all heard me talk about this, I think. Forgetfulness, forgetting is one of the top ways that the lower frequency plays a role in our life. It blindfolds us and puts a veil on and lets us see from ego or forget. Like, oh, come over here. Oh, don't do that. Yep, go over here. So remembering, this is the thing that we like, Sola and I, remember those moments, those ahas, like this, remembering is key. Anything that Sola on remembering, anything that comes up, and even in that moment.
mean, you said it, my love, remembering God's love, right? Remembering God's love. It's something that's already ingrained in you. It's not something that you have to seek. It's not something that you have to read 1,000 books. The more that you're in that place of peaceness, that's peace and stillness together. The more you're in that state of peace, the more that you're in the state of stillness, you naturally will drop into the frequency of remembering. Because through stillness, everything becomes clear. Through peace, everything becomes clear. Remembering, it's like, it's not even like oh, I remember that. And it's like something that's in the mind. It's like, it's a language that the mind does not understand, but it's the language that the heart speaks, right? Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a feeling. It's like, oh, I am unconditionally loved. Oh, I'm unconditionally loved. I don't even need to earn unconditional love. I don't need to do this practice and do that. I'm already unconditionally loved. I was unconditionally loved from the moment I got here. I'll be unconditionally loved for the moment this body passes. It's already a now present reality. That's the remembrance. I'm already unconditionally loved. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Next in the wheel. Someone else want to?
Can I just say thank you? Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anna.
I can go if that's okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say good morning to everyone. It's good to see all of your beautiful faces. So what's coming up for me and what's in my heart, I attended this powerful weekend, a lot of beautiful breakthroughs and insights. And it was like I found a missing piece to the puzzle around stepping into my power. Like there's moments where I'm fully in my power and I feel like I'm in my power. And then what I've been attracting is bullies. So I realized that I know it's childhood conditioning, like the dynamic that I saw with my mom and dad. My mom was a submissive one. My dad was the bully. He used to physically abuse us. And then, so that pattern started with my father. And then my ex-husband was a bully. And then my partner used to be a bully. And then recently, I thought it was like a masculine thing, right? Like the pattern with the dad and bullying. And then recently I realized that there was a girlfriend, a woman, who was also bullying me. Like I took space from her. I realized, like consciously, I know that setting healthy boundaries is what's needed, to stay in my power. So every time that I would be in my power and this woman would witness me in it, she would give me unsolicited feedback, or like if I say, for example, I organize plant medicine retreats. So there we dance in ceremony. And there's times where I feel like I'm tuning into my feminine and I'm dancing. And I would tell her, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in my feminine, I'm flowing. She's like, oh, all I see is a little girl. I don't see the woman. I see that you're stiff. I see that I don't see you dancing, like you're not flowing. So I realized what happened was that I stopped dancing in ceremony. So like, I'm wondering, like, why it's so hard for me to set the boundaries. And the thing is, like, I kind of put up with so much because it was like always in my ear, you know, all this, like, I'm in my power. I'm like, yes, and love and, you know, confidence and authenticity. And then in my ears, like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're this, you're that. Oh, you need to change this. Even the way that I would express myself, the feedback was like, oh, you know, you're doing it wrong. So having in your ear someone tell you all the time, you're not this, when I'm like, yes, I am. Yeah, but no, you're not. So like, figuring out for me, like, I'm clear on, oh my gosh, it's setting healthy boundaries, but still subconsciously, like, I keep energetically attracting these people and it's people that I like love. And I'm like, this person that I love and that I open my heart to and I'm so vulnerable with. So then the fear kicks in to be vulnerable, because I'm like, and then I question, like, well, who am I really? So when I moved to Austin, this thing started where, like, I was like in hibernation, like in hiding mode, because I didn't know who I was anymore. I'm like, well, who am I really? Like, if I'm being fully expressed and then I have these energies coming at me telling me, no, that's not you, you know, and I'm in it, but it's almost like I'm fighting something. Like, I don't want to be fighting to prove who I am. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense? Yes, my love, that makes so much sense. I have so many questions, so many things that are coming up, right? So many things. So first and foremost, let's get clear, right? When you say in my power, what does that mean to you?
Like, I know that I'm unconditional love, and I open my heart, and my heart is wide open. And I feel connected to source, like, yes, like, I am that.
Yeah.
I can fully express myself. I feel connected. I feel grounded. I feel happy. I feel joy. You know, I could do anything when I'm in my power. Yeah. Right? Regardless of what is happening, regardless of the projections, the opinions of others.
Yeah.
That's when I feel in my power. So then sometimes I'm like, well, do I need to be by myself to stay in that? And I crave community. I'm like, you know, when I interact with women and I'm coaching, like, it's so inspiring because the energy is there. Like, it's so beautiful. I'm like, oh, it is beautiful. But then this one energy comes almost like testing me. Can you stay in your power? Can you stay in your truth? And then, like, I keep them around, and it's the constant testing. And I'm like, I don't want to be tested anymore. Like, can I just...
Why do you keep them around? What is your reason for that?
Well, what I noticed was that, like, it starts off like with inspirational affirmations, like, oh, you're so this, you're so that. Wow, your energy is so beautiful. Like, you don't even have to do anything, and I'm just next to you, and I feel like my ex-husband used to say that too. Your energy is just so healing.
Yeah.
So they're saying all these good things. So I'm like, oh, okay, they see me.
Yeah.
They really see me. And then gradually it starts shifting. Like, I feel like, in a sense, it's triggering something inside of them that maybe they have disconnected from. So they project certain things onto me. But then when the bullying starts, I feel like they become more empowered.
Yeah.
And then I make myself small.
I have an affirmation I want to share with you that just came through. I want you to place your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. And before I share this affirmation with you, I want you to know that that power that you're talking about is the little girl in you. It's your purity, right? And there is an attack on purity for a reason, because it is the frequency of remembrance. That little girl, she knows.
I get the chills all over my body.
I know. She does not.
I'll write that down.
She does not have to prove, she knows, right? So I'm going to give you this affirmation. Say, I no longer create trauma bonds with people who see my radiance. Say that again. I no longer create trauma bonds with people who see my radiance. Really feel into that. The more you can affirm that, you realize that you are there's two of you coexisting. It's your inner child and the divine mother within you protecting that inner child. That inner child, you know, when people see that radiance, she's like, yes, keep them in my life. I need them to help me remember. You don't need anyone to help you remember anything. You already remember. You already know. So say that again. I no longer create trauma bonds with people who see my radiance. I 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 see my radiance. That's enough. And at first it might feel like a lie. At first it might feel like a story, but that's the dance between the inner mother and the inner child. Yeah. Right? That's the way you protect your heart, by realizing that all she needs to hear is that's enough. I see my radiance and that's enough.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, because I know I when I set the healthy boundaries, like I feel guilty because these people are like, how could you, right? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not mean. I'm not this, you know, it's your projection. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't set the healthy boundary then. Maybe I shouldn't take space because that's mean, you know?
What would you say if you literally had your inner child sitting next to you right now? That little girl who wants to dance, is in flow. She doesn't have to do anything to prove that she's radiant. She just is. And she had people coming into her life and they saw that radiance. But then all of a sudden they started bullying her, and then they complimented her and then bullied her. What advice would you give to her?
So many things come through. But just like words of affirmation, like remember who you are, like you are divine, you are joy, you are love, and staying in that authenticity. Like I don't need to prove to anyone that I am love. And, you know, even like the recognizing like the shadow aspects, like that is still love, you know, and giving myself permission to be mean or, you know, say certain things, because I feel like when I put that aside or I reject that part of me, then I'm rejecting the fullest expression of me, you know?
100%. So the takeaway I have for you is it just seems like to me, your love language with God and the love language that you have with yourself is words of affirmation. So just make sure that, you know, really every day, because the enemy is tricky. The enemy will send people be like, oh, you're radiance. And then has a sword ready to, right?
Yeah. So you know what's interesting? It's kind of funny because my partner and I were just having this conversation and he gave me a lot of words of affirmation. And then I told him, I know you love giving me words of affirmation, but that's like the last of my love language, right? The first one is quality time. So now that you're saying that, I'm like, it almost feels kind of wrong to receive those words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that is what's needed, because it feels uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and it's weird. And it's like, he's just showing love and just affirming to me how he sees me. You're a goddess, you're this. And I'm realizing that to a certain extent, I'm not believing it,
Yeah.
you know?
That's the dance you can take away with yourself.
Yeah.
Just, look in the mirror and have those days, anytime you get into the energy of proving, that's when you know that your heart is in a state of division.
Mm.
So the choices you make from that energy of proving is not who you truly are. You are pure radiance.
Mm.
You are unconditional love. You already know. You already know.
Mm.
So say that one more time. I no longer create trauma bonds
create trauma bonds
with people who see my radiance.
who see my radiance. I get the chills every time I say that.
Yeah, that one's for you, and that one's for younger you. They both need that remembrance.
I also heard doing this, I no longer create trauma bonds with people who take my radiance, who seek to take my radiance, because that's a lot of the self-destructive patterns that we all have. And it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or necessarily a narcissist, right? But when we set that boundary, they have to find a different modality in order to heal, because your partner could do this with you, because the radiance scares us.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're glowing, they're powerful, they're gonna leave me. And so the seeing my radiance, beautiful, take my radiance, no. Like, so I heard this is really powerful for me to hear too, and to not do. Like, how do we, so everyone in our life is a mirror reflection. It's showing us either the lessons we need to learn or the reflection of how we are behaving somewhere. And a lot of the people I work with are such lovers that it's not necessarily what they're doing to anybody else, but they're doing it to themselves. You're taking your own radiance away by the choices to allow XYZ. Or there could be someone in our life that we're unconsciously creating this same dynamic that we had as childhood. And so really just looking at also, where in my life am I playing a role in this, either with myself or someone else, and then repeating and alchemizing, like she's talking about. So in a lot of the work that we're gonna do or have done, if you guys, I have something called the tone of truth. And what Sola does is speaks the tone of truth. There will be a certain energy frequency in your body when you say specific words. That's what we try to find. And when you say it, you're actually moving instantly into God force energy, love force energy, consciousness. That's what Sola does. She's the tone of truth. So she found the words specifically that could align to your frequency so that you could just move really quickly back to remembrance. So that you're not in that house of separation, to your purity. So just, and that's for all of us, that tone of truth, those specific words, really, really powerful to keep repeating. And in the game of life, which you guys all have, all of you, I think, except for maybe Alejandro, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, repeat it. So casting the burden, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. Sometimes it says for hours. I go on my little God walks, and every step I take, right? Or tapping your body or touching yourself. Like, I no longer create trauma bond relationships, for me, I'm gonna say, with people who take my radiance. Like, no. So yeah, and while you do it, you just really integrate. And dancing. When you dance, that's how we train the subconscious. When you sing, that's how you train the subconscious. So we really want to get deep into the subconscious, repatterning and hypnotizing as you fall asleep at night. Everyone, whatever that tone of truth is, I want you to repeat it into your brain. Solid and secure, Sola said, Sarah. Solid and secure. I want to move to Adri, because I know we're getting that time. I can't believe it's already gotten there. I just want more of Sola forever. I want her like once a month, a Sola chat. I don't know if once every quarter is enough. And we have 10 minutes left. I don't know if you guys are okay staying on a little extra. If Sola do you have extra time?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that way Janelle, Alexa, maybe Alejandro can have, just a few little, like, if there's something on your heart and mind. Adri.
Hello. I've been trying to think of questions to ask. I'm slightly brain dead from time change in this trip. Nothing per se has really been weighing on my heart at this point. I feel like I've released a lot. I just have more sadness coming in the last few days through flow. I'm in Mexico for my cousin's wedding, so more just emotional in that sense. But that's kind of it, really. Of just being on a journey, I guess, more for myself, and not having a partner right now is kind of the flow I'm trying to get used to. But nothing crazy.
Is Sarah allowed to jump in, or do you want, am I allowed to open the box up of Adri?
Yeah.
Okay. Nancy Ray's like, open the vault. I think there's some pressure in society about or ideas about timelines and children and marriages, and even me, I'm in this transition, and I'm like, gosh, I'm 37, I should have this together. I'm a mom. Like, the love thing shouldn't be a thing anymore. We should just be flowing and it should be easy. Well, we all have, even the greatest marriages, and everybody's got something chapter in their life, right? So the expectation to have children, or to be married by a certain time, or ever looking in the past and thinking that you've done something wrong or that you needed to do better. So maybe forgiveness, maybe on like timelines, what might come through for you, Sola, on, those sort of society expectations, or any guilt about past.
Thank you for translating, Sarah.
And being in more play.
Yeah.
God's like, come on, bubbles.
The only thing that's coming through for me is that it's like God doesn't work in time. Time is where we work. And when I say we, I mean this thing here. This is where we try to map out this and that, but just remembering that God does not work in time. There's no like really just remembering that you are always like in divine timing. It's not like when something magical happens and it's like, divine timing, synchronicity. It's like a always state. You're always in divine timing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. That's what's coming through for me.
And guilt about past.
Guilt about past. In what way?
Like for say, like in the Sara experience, and looking back, like, I should have done this, I should have done that, or why did I do this thing? When we're looking at the past, they say, even in the game of life, and like what we teach, it's like you turn to stone, even in the Bible.
Oh, definitely.
So bringing us back to the present moment, or how do we shift that?
I mean, our power is in our present moment, right? And our peace is in the present moment, and God is in the present moment. So anything that is taking you out of that, you can still reflect, but anything that's taking you out of that just true presence is putting more division into your body, right? So always, anytime you get into those moments of guilt of the past, just again, like, think of it, like, imagine like you literally have like your inner child sitting next to you, right? And if she did a bunch of things, she maybe stole some cookies, she maybe slammed her door, would you remind her every day of the things that she did?
No.
So we shouldn't have that relationship with ourselves either. It's
or with somebody else.
Yeah. Compassion and forgiveness are I think two of the strongest practices to lighten the loads of our hearts. And the goal in this life, I really believe, is to get our hearts to be as light as a feather. So through compassion and compassion for your experiences, compassion for the different versions of you that will manifest on this planet in your lifetime, just compassion and forgiveness for some of the times that maybe you were a little shisty or a little this or a little that, just forgiveness and compassion. It just brings you back into presence and full acceptance for whoever is looking at you in the mirror. And again, the enemy does not want you to get into a state of acceptance, because acceptance is you really tapping into what God's love truly is. You know?
Does anybody else get like floored by the, I'm like, oh my God, did somebody write that down? Did somebody write that down? Like, I don't know if it's just me, like some of the words that she says instantly moves my body into the frequency of God. And so I'm like if you really integrate what she's saying, light as a feather, guys. That our heart, the love that we carry, is our super force to manifest whatever we desire. Love. That's why there's the whole Course of Miracles. It's either love or fear. Love or fear. Light as a feather. That's our job. When I speak about all the energy work, like, your most important thing that you could do is energy, is aligning your energy to be in that perfect poise, to be in that place of peace, to be in that place of play. Light as a feather.
Yeah, and if there's something about the inner girl or inner child, the little one in us who just knows that it's when we are dancing, it's when we are laughing, it's this lightheartedness that is just, it's the easiest gateway into peace, and it's also the most fun, to be honest. So just lighthearted. How can I lighten my heart? How can I lighten my heart? That's always the dance. That's always the play.
Gosh, I don't know how she does this to me. Like, it's the weirdest thing in the world. I don't know. I swear, like, there's something about Sola and I's union that from the minute I met her, I was speaking with Garen Jones, and she came right up to me, and that was it from that moment on. And I think there's many lifetimes, and she just touches in it's like dropping the transmissions, and it's like hanging out with God, and I feel it. Such release. If you really allow these words into your body and your mind and your heart, release comes, because it's truth.
Yeah.
I really quickly, as quick as possible, Janelle, do you got anything, baby girl? No, you're good? She's good. Okay. Alexa.
Yeah, I'll say something. So I am struggling with like rest. So something I developed really early in my childhood is working my butt off to like distract myself from a very chaotic childhood. So I began getting straight A's, and then that developed into saving lots of money. And now I have time to rest, and I'm not very good at just resting. Like, I'm just not, like, it doesn't feel, I feel shameful for it. I feel shame for resting. Yeah.
You feel shame for resting. Why do you think you feel the shame? Where did you say the shame is coming from? From your childhood?
Yeah, I think the rest just feels unnatural for me. So like my family was just very chaotic. So my dad wasn't very present, or if he wasn't in a healthy state. My mother was never in a healthy state, and then my brother was just very chaotic, to say the least. So I grew up in a very chaotic environment.
What are you afraid of? What's
Yeah.
going to happen if you allow yourself to rest more?
What am I afraid of? I don't.
Because you're equating rest to meaning
My-
something.
I guess I don't feel like my less is decreased by my inability to currently produce, or my lack of desire to keep producing right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if we look at ourselves as like, divine batteries, right? That has this natural gift to recharge itself. And when we're in that state of recharge, that's when God comes in and handles certain things, which is why we all sleep, right? It's like kind of like a necessity for the nature of this planet, right?
Mhm.
When we equate rest to us being in a state of surrendering and allowing God to truly do the work in our life that we cannot do, we take all the guilt and shame away from it, right? So it's just about shifting your you have like a programmed association of rest meaning this, right? It's like you can reprogram it and be like, oh, rest means God takes over. Rest means that, the generational wealth that I'm creating is like, so my future daughter's daughter can also be in rest. Rest means like just reshifting your pre-programmed, relationship with rest. Like rest is the gift of your ancestors. Remember that. Rest is the gift of your ancestors. They've
That's
done. What'd you say, love?
That's getting framed somewhere.
Yeah.
It's also the place in which, when we're in play, when we're in peace and rest or meditation or our walks, whatever that is the place where the divine gets to enter to give you insights to make money babies.
Exactly.
Like, I was on my God walk and I heard, holy wealth, Sarah, you're going to launch a program.
Yeah.
It's on the codes and transmissions of divinity that will allow people to align to their purpose, their play, their prosperity through more of a divine channel. And I was on a walk, I was resting, right? Like I was just in my God little moment. So that is the place you slow down to
receive.
Yeah. And just speed up, like it's a quantum leap moment, like slow down, you can hear, and then
and rest is a vibrational signal that you have a peaceful home. And when I say peaceful home, I mean peaceful heart. And if we understand that this is where our divinity is, this is where God rests, this is like our temple, like that is your clear sign of like, I have a peaceful home, right? A chaotic home may, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes we want the home to feel like chaos. We're cooking on the stove. We got all of these things happening, but there's no greater feeling when you just got a candle lit, you kicking back and you just have a moment to just be in your own presence, be in the presence of God, So look at rest as a manifestation that God's working. Look at rest as a manifestation of all the work your ancestors did. It's reprogramming.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
So powerful. It's 7:20. I don't know, Alejandro, you got a real quick thing? Oh, anything that comes from God right now to me, I have the feeling to become a healer and transform many lives. My microphone is not working. Oh yeah. Yeah, Alejandro really deeply is connected to the Siddhaveda lineage and Clint and helping people heal. And I mean, when I met him on a dance floor. I turned around, looked at him, and I heard, God loves you. Oh. And he's like, what? He loves me? And I was like, yeah. And we've been walking side by side, Earth Angels. So yeah, I don't know, maybe any limiting belief that might stop him or anything that comes.
I have a verse, Bible verse that I want to share that I feel like speaks to exactly the wisdom in his heart, right? So this is 1 Corinthians 13, verse 1 and 2. Okay, it goes, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. and if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And for me, we're in this time period where a lot of people are being called into healing or any kind of leadership. We're remembering our powers, our prophetic powers are coming online. Love is your grounding force with these powers that you have been given. So on your path to becoming a healer, you have to remember that until you are really operating from your heart, it's just noise. The work you're doing is just work. There's no true divinity in it. You can put the word divine on it. You can say that you're doing this, you're transforming this. It's about understanding that without love, all these gifts that we have been given will truly not have the lasting, everlasting impact that it is intended to have. So as you do walk into the path of the healer, before you even think about, okay, this is the business, this is the thing I want to do, before you think about any of that, just ask yourself, am I currently in love? That is the journey. That is the dance. Am I in love? Am I in love? And from that place, in that place of rest, in that place of play, all of the ideas, all of the intuitive hits, all of the, random like acts of inspiration that you feel will come. It will come from that place and it will be protected and it will be ordained to you directly. But we must all, as leaders, as teachers, as healers, being in love is our greatest gift and it's also our greatest weapon. So, yeah.
I can't, like, such medicine you are. We are so fortunate to have you show up for us today, not just on this call, but you helped me. And if you didn't help me, I couldn't hold the space for all of them. Yeah, when I took her home, I was like, I actually don't think you should go home. Can you just stay here? And she's like, I gotta go home. You're just so wise and so patient and so non-judging, and so the transition and what her and I both came right back to God at the same time in a much deeper layer. We felt the calling of Yeshua at almost the same time of like, oh, we're going loud and proud now. Like and it's asking, the divine's asking us. It's got some stuff happening. And so as we're all here together in this, and I'm just really thankful. I think you all can unmute. I have some oh wait, what's the homework? I don't know why.
Oh, yes. Homework. So step one, it's very important that you identify what is your love language with the divine. What is your love language with the divine? That's step one. And step two, find a playful way to integrate that into your daily practice. So number one, identify your love language with the divine, which is also going to be your love language for your inner child. And then step two, find a playful way to integrate that into your daily practice. The playful part is really important because it's the easiest way to create a routine. When it doesn't feel like work, when it doesn't feel like something that you don't want to do, the more that you incorporate the spirit of play into it, you're going to look forward to like, whoa, I want to do my mirror work and look in the mirror and speak to my inner child, or whoa, I want to dance and like literally just like dance into the frequency of my, like whatever it is, it's gonna want to light you up because we're here to lighten our heart. So whatever lights you up is going to be your daily integration.
Woo! And set the alarm. Sarah loves the alarm because remember, because so you're gonna hear this now, but opposition's gonna be like, cool, we gotta forget everything Sola said because that shit was powerful. Whatever you do, don't watch this video again. Whatever you do, don't set that alarm. Like that's the job right now that is happening. So your job is to remember. So we're gonna set an alarm right when we hang up. You guys have accountability partners. We're gonna switch them. So really quick, Alexa, you're on it again. We're swapping. Wait, Sola, you're gonna be my accountability partner, even though you're not in class. So what we do is we share 3 things we're grateful for every day this week. What is our miracle that we're calling in? This is a powerful ancient Siddha Veda practice that I've seen so many miracles happen, and you have to be really committed. And then the Seva, what are you going to do as your pledge for it? So actually we'll do it when we hang up. Alexa's going to partner who wasn't already partnered, and she might need remembrance on who was together. Maybe we'll have Sola again much more sooner. Yes, what? Alexa?
I'm switching it up this week though, right? Like,
yes.
perfect.
Different people. Yep.
Perfect.
Everybody unmute. Let's tell Sola how much we love her. Let's think about our inner child. Let's do this for Sola. Sola is in a launch to help men right now, which, God, please, can I throw some at you? And we want to see her flourish. We want to see, we're possibly opening Temple Royale where women come and she is there and she's giving these speeches and I don't know, services. Let's see these things come to fruition easily and effortlessly. Let's blast her with magic. Thank you. Everybody unmute. You can just tell her.
Thank you, Sola.
We love
Thank
you, Sola.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, your love, your guidance.
Thank you. I receive.
All right, we'll see you soon,
you.
maybe really soon, or soon in a couple months. I love you all. See you next week.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.
Where am I staying?